SCP-2747. Now, I mentioned this SCP briefly in my SCP Iceberg video, and I said I was going to go back and discuss it more, which is what I'm going to do now. I'm a man of my word. Yeah, you're impressed. Anyways, SCP-2747, as I mentioned briefly, is something the Foundation is containing by constantly watching for instances of 2747. Now, from what I can understand, an instance of 2747 can be pretty much anywhere. From a picture, to a story, to a manga, to a video game, to a television, pretty much anywhere. And the instances can be very specific or fairly vague. So right now the Foundation is running an algorithm to detect any kind of I guess similarities that might be this SCP. SCP-2747 has never been documented in real time. It's all been in the past, so to speak. So, you know, if somebody is painting and they're painting I guess you would call it an instance of SCP-2747. The Foundation has never directly observed that. So that leads to the question if the person making whatever it is they were making were aware, or if this SCP just inserted itself in what that person made. Now, you may be asking what exactly is SCP-2747, and the Foundation wiki page really only says that it is an entity or a thing that whatever narrative it's in or whatever instance it's in, for example, if it's in a painting, it's going to destroy that painting in some way in order to move to another thing. So if it were to destroy a painting, it would move to, say, maybe a billboard, for example, something like that. If it were to destroy a book, it would move to a newspaper, so it could become more well-known and more seen by people. But to be less confused, you need to go outside of what the wiki has, and so I went to the villains wiki, and this is where I must stress there is no canon for SCPs. It's all your head canon. If you're not familiar with what a head canon is, it's the canon that's in my head. So, you know, in my head, the Scarlet King is directly related to that demon thing with the 7 chains, and all the chains are broken except for one. Direct relation. There could be no relation, but in my head there is. So that's a headcanon. So, in my headcanon, the villains wiki is okay. I'm okay with that. If you don't like that, well, figure it out for yourself, man. Alright? Now, this SCP is an entity, a very powerful entity. Every time it destroys a narrative, it moves to another narrative. Potentially a bigger one or a more well-known one. The fear is that this entity will destroy so many fictitious stories that it will eventually come into our story, the real, true story, and destroy that too, because it takes no effort to destroy these stories, mind you. So that's the fear, that it will come here, wipe us all out, and then go to a higher plane above us. Now, to give you an idea of the power of this entity, in case you're not scared yet, so the Scarlet King, which is probably the most well-known god entity in the SCP universe. If you're familiar with SCPs, you've probably heard of the Scarlet King. You're probably familiar with how powerful it is. This entity went into the Scarlet King narrative, its world, the Scarlet King's world, imprisoned it, but left it, and the Scarlet King broke out of this imprisonment, seemingly, but this entity left the Scarlet King there. So the Scarlet King is still trapped, but not trapped in the way of where he can't move. He's trapped. He's kind of like in a prison. He's in a prison where he can do anything, but he still can't leave the prison. Okay? So the Scarlet King is capable of destroying worlds. This SCP is capable of destroying universes. Does that make sense? It's above the Scarlet King. So it places the Scarlet King in our world where it can easily wipe us out, but it's above our world on a whole nother plane where it could wipe out the Scarlet King, who will just say he's the strongest entity in this scenario. It can wipe out the strongest entity in our world and all of our world, and then it can go to another world and another and another. Understand? Now, aside from being capable of destroying narratives with ease, the people in the narratives are unaware of it. So, if it were in the MCU and it wiped out the MCU, they would have no idea what happened. You know, they'd be dead, mind you, they'd all be dead, but it would be just instantaneous. Everybody's gone. Everything is gone. That story is over. Now let's go back to the official wiki page for a second, because you may be asking yourself, like I am, how in the world is the Foundation containing this thing? So, they have an algorithm set up. Any mention of this SCP or anything that's slightly like this SCP is swatted, I guess you could say, or doxed, and it's instantly nullified like that. So, this SCP, as it is now, is in a very, very weak form, okay? But, unfortunately, it only takes, you know, a little bit for it to step up to a more stronger form, a stronger narrative. So it wouldn't take much for this SCP to enter our world, and we would just be another stepping stone. Now, is there containment beyond that? Is there a way to stop this? Kill it? At the moment, no, and I don't see how they could. I mean, there is one way I could think of. If they took SCP-3812, which 3812 was also on the iceberg, that is the SCP that exists several narratives, several universes, whatever you want to call it, above of us. So, quick example again, let's use the MCU again. He is above the people who wrote the MCU. He is above the person who invented the the MCU, and then several levels above that. So if SCP-3812 wanted to wipe out this SCP, it could wipe out anything, basically. But they would have to find it and convince it to do that. And yeah, I don't think he cares about us, because he's so far above on such another plane that he's whatever. Now there is one more thing on the page that I have not talked about yet, and that is Operation Lucid Chalice. The reason I have not talked about that yet is because the data has been lost for that. What is it? You tell me. Lucid, when you hear that word, you think of lucid dreaming most of the time. So we should hope and pray that people aren't dreaming about this SCP. Because if it enters the mind of just one person's dream, that narrative, it could easily end that dream and enter our world. I don't see anything stopping it from doing that. Anyways, that is SCP-2747. Short, sweet, and to the point explanation. That is the end of the video. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you enjoyed, feel free to give a thumbs up. I will be making at least one more SCP video in this style, just because there's another one that I really want to talk about and explain. Beyond that, I may make more in the future. I haven't decided yet. But yeah, if that sounds like something that interests you, you can hit that subscribe. That's always appreciated. And other than that, have a great day, everyone.